Morning again, folks. So back at the transporter. When I left yesterday, this is part 2. I took off this cover. It's the inside cover, so I took off the pulley off the camshaft, which I already loosened. You have a 13mm hex head here and a 10mm headed M6 here, and you go ahead and there's 2 studs here, one on the top and one on the bottom. These go through the pump, and then we have a third one here. I'll show you where they go. So there's the 2, there's one there on the cover. I'll switch on the light on it. There you go. So I have one here that goes through that plastic cover, and the second one is this one down here, which goes through the plastic cover, and then that's the third one. So I've gone and loosened this already. Bit of wiggling, out she comes. So I didn't need to remove this bracket, which I thought I might have to. So it's just 3 studs holding this in. Let's see if I'm down there. You see it's pretty clean inside. So the coolant was doing its job, keeping away all the corrosion. You can see our thermostat inside there. Inside the block, all pretty clean. No issues in there. So what I'll go down is clean off this mating surface and reinstall the pump. So next step is I've cleaned off the surface. I've put in the new seal all around. I just put a little bit of sealant, RTV sealant around that edge, just to ensure that it does seal. And now we can go ahead and reinstall the pump. Trying to think which way it goes. It's this way. Yeah. Is it this way? Yeah, there we go. So now he's in the right spot. I can go ahead now and put this stud in and line them up. So just to show, I have this cover now, the inside cover. I spray a bit of WD-40 on it and clean off as much crap as I can. At least that way, if it ever leaks oil, I can identify where it's leaking. So I've that bolt is just loosely fitted, so the pump is not tight because 2 bolts go through here still, and if I tighten that up it probably won't line. So just knock any more crap out of there that I can see. Reinstall this fella. It just goes up there, just like so. And now I can locate the bolts in the pump through the cover. There's one. There's the other one. Now I'll just start them on their threads. They're just loose now. I won't be tightening them in just yet until I put in these 2 top bolts. Make sure they line up. Next thing then I'll be doing is changing out the seal. So take out these seals. It's a little bit of rule force sometimes, but just be careful not to do any damage to the crankshaft and any damage to the outer surface. You get your screwdriver in and pick them out. So there's one seal out. Next thing is now to clean the nose of the crankshaft and clean up inside there. make sure there's no crap. Some people go ahead and don't change these seals, but from previous experience they will leak, and you have to go and undo it all again. And if you get oil on your timing belt, you're probably best off to change it, because oil and rubber doesn't go too well together. So I've that cleaned off now. I have the new seal here in my hand. I like to put a little bit of RTV sealant around the outside, a bare little film, and on the inside a little bit of assembly lube. So when you're putting these over the crankshaft, you have to be very careful that that lip doesn't turn backwards. So push them down and around, and now I know that that's on that mark. A little shove. Now I'll get the old seal now and give him a clean. I might not use that one now, but normally I put the seal over the crankshaft the opposite way that it came on. Or came off, I should say. And use him to shove it back in, but he's not going to work on this one because I've damaged it too much. So I'll get a socket now, and I'll shove that in. So I've driven the seal in now with a socket and just cleaned the nose of the crankshaft. And the other thing to clean, I've already sprayed this with WD, so just get some of the rough stuff off it. That way now I know that if there's a leak, where it's coming from. It shouldn't be anyway. Next part to go back on now is the sprocket, which I've cleaned. There's a notch here in the crank which corresponds with that keyway. So he will only go on the one way. There we go. And you push him back in. There we go. So that's him in now, locked. Next thing will be the crankshaft, or the camshaft back on, sprocket. So I've gone and put the sprocket, or the toothed pulley, back on the cam, and just to note that there is no keyway in this, so he's loosely fitted now. That's loose, and your camshaft does not turn. So it'll become apparent now in a little while why that happens, or why that is necessary. So I just have him just loose enough that he can turn. So I've gone ahead and loosely put in the timing belt. There's no arrow on this belt, but what I like to do is put it in such a way that you can read the writing from the side that you're standing on. So I'll go ahead now and fit the tensioner. Now what you're looking for on here is this little pin. It's marked with a little green dot. He will be coming over that. So that's what you're looking for when you get in that far. So that's the tensioner in, and I have the bolt tightened up but not fully. Just ensure that your belt is square and it's on all your teeth. It's not sticking out anywhere. And what you're looking for is this arrow in here. You'll see him when he lines up, and you turn this in a clockwise direction. Do not turn it back. If you do have to turn it back, if you go too far, start again. So you're looking to get this pointer into the middle. There. Now that's ready. Now what I have to go and do now is lock up this center bolt. Usually don't want to stay like that, but That's what you're looking for. Make sure your spud is on the slider, your pointer is on point, and then you go lock that up. Next part to go back on now is the little cover plate. So he's held on with 3 10mm screws, 10mm bolts. Well, they're 6mm, 10mm head. Just put them all in loose. Here's one, second one here. And once you've tightened up the belt, you don't need to go back near it again. I'll show you the procedure after that. Now I've that tightened up. Next thing to do is this washer that came with is a little very thin shim. He goes in there, and that's the old one. I'll be putting this back on. So he goes back in here. How's he gonna do this? So next thing in is the 4 bolts. So all 4 of those go in, and then I'll have my crankshaft bolt. That'll be the last one to go in. Next part is put your pulley back on, which I've already done. Tighten up the bolts. Washers on them, just 3 washers. So that's your bottom pulley on, power steering pulley back on. So I've let the van down now. As I say, this is loose. So now your cam is free to turn. I've gone ahead and ensured that my timing, let's try and zoom in on it. I'm lined up with that arrow down there. So move this pipe, it might zoom in. You can see it anyway. The crankshaft is on top dead center, cylinder number 1. I'm back around here now. I've checked. I've already feeler bladed this. So this is now. It lines up. See where my finger is. At the top, this. So the surface of the cylinder head is your guide. So you put your feeler blades in both sides. Make sure that is even both sides, which it is now. So what I go ahead now is go ahead and lock up the camshaft on this side. So that's, you're finished with your cam timing. So now your engine is in time. Now the next thing you're looking for is a mark on your timing pump, injector pump. And it's this little mark here, and you're going to go roughly in line with this mark in the pump. And I'm going to, for clarity, just mark him with a bit of white paint. But yeah, come on, focus. So there you go. So you see the way he's lined up with this casing mark here. There's 2 marks. So he's lined up with that. And this one here will come roughly to it. I've also ensured that my crankshaft is on top dead center on the far side. You see the pump is installed now. Everything's in there. He's on the right. Camshaft is tightened up now as well. So everything down this end is pretty much done. Just ensure that your camshaft is still on time when your gearbox casing line is marked up with your flywheel. So what I might do is I might just end the video here, and I'll do a separate one on pump timing. I've reinstalled that guide pulley with a new bolt, new nut, and the tensioner will be going back on now in a moment. So I think I'll just do a separate video on pump timing, because I don't want the video to be too long and there's a bit in it. So I'll just do that, and then we'll do a start video. So So when you can hear it starting up for the first time in 3 years. So I'll leave it at that for today's video, guys. As always, hit the thumbs up please, and like the video, share it around. Trying to get my subscribers up to 1,000. I think I'm at 420 something now at the moment, so getting there, but it's very slow. So if you could just share the video, anyone with transporters considering buying one, whatever, point them my direction, and at least to know when they're doing stuff like this what's involved. They can do it themselves. Most of the stuff on these is pretty simple, but if you don't know how to do it, it's not. There's no real mad tools. I've designedly left the tools out on the floor, so there's nothing there that is not cheaply bought. There's your old tensioners, old water pump, so probably okay, but at the same time, for the sake of it, you just buy a whole kit. I think the kit was about €180 for the full kit, for the pump and everything, so just get them, you know. So I'll be cleaning all this stuff up now, so that'll be nice and shiny. Alright folks, I'll leave it at that for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. As always, leave a comment in the section if you think I should be doing something different, or I don't mind a bit of criticism, guys. You know, I'm only human. So I'll leave it at that for today's video. Over and out.